All right, y'all. We give praise, esteem, and honor to our Abba and Shamahim, the living Elohim, by way of Yahushua HaMashiach. He picked us up in the 5th chapter of John, in the 39th verse. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life. And there they was testified me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, but you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. Another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one from another, and not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you. The Abba is one that accused you, even Moses, to whom you trust. Had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how should you believe my words? Praise be to Yahuwah. Psalms 69 and 5. Praise be to you. Psalm 69 and 5. O Elohim, you know my foolishness, and my sins are not hid from you. Let not them that wait on you, O Yahuwah Elohim, of hosts, be ashamed for my sake. Let not those that seek you be confounded for my sake, O Elohim of Yasharal. Because for your sake I have borne reproach, and shame have covered my face. Now, I believe that we stopped off in verse 20 on Wednesday. I will pick it up at verse 18 on general principle. Psalm 69 and 18. Draw near unto my soul and redeem it. Deliver me because of my enemies. You have known my reproach and my shame, my dishonor, my adversaries are all before you. Reproach have broken my heart. I am full of heaviness. I looked for some to take pity, and there were no, and for comforters, but I found none. Now, that's the verse that we pretty much focused on in its entirety. And on Wednesday. There's a passage in Job, and it's escaping me at this time. You who are willing to come to mind in regards to comforters. But let's go over here to verse 21, which is very simple in Psalm 69. That y'all know, and we'll look at the corresponding passage just to look at it. But they gave me also gall for my meat, and in my thirst they gave me vinegar to drink. So, of course, y'all know what that is. As forth as what that correlates to. Very simple passage. But let's look at gall for his meat. Let's do that. When we look at gall, what we have is rosh. And what we have is a word that means gall, venom, bitter, poisonous, a poisonous plant, serpents, hemlock, poison, venom. So when you sit back and you look at it, they gave him death to eat. That's what you turn around and when you look at that. Of course, with meat, you have Barut here. My phone locking up. Let me slide that off and try that again. And of course, that is food. Now, we kind of talked about this already, about them giving him vinegar to drink, as forth as giving the Nazarites wine. Comets, Cot, Mean, and Sod. So let's come over here to John chapter 18, I believe. I guess you just got to be a fan of ginger, real fan of ginger for that one. That ginger brew. That ginger brew. 19 and 28, John. After this, Yahushua, this is John 19:28. Yahushua, knowing that all things were now accomplished, that the scripture might be fulfilled, say, I thirst. Now there was set a vessel of vinegar. They filled it with a sponge of vinegar and put it upon hyssop and put it to his mouth. Now, what we're going to focus on is hyssop. I remember us dealing with something like this in about 2000, maybe 14 or 15, and it did not record. It did not record. Hold on one second. I want you to come over here, get your Exodus chapter 12, verse 20, maybe about verse 17. And then after that, no, I'll deal with that first. You can make it 16. Shalom, man. Exodus chapter 12 and verse 16 for now. And in the first day there shall be a Kadash convocation, and the seventh day there shall be a Kadash convocation to you. I think I skipped something. No, I did. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that every man must eat. That only may be done of you. Now, of course, you just read where they said they gave him gall for food, or venom or poison for food. Just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. And you shall observe the feast of unleavened bread for the selfsame day that I brought your armies out of the land of Mizraim. Therefore shall you observe this day in your generations by ordinance forever. And the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, you shall eat unleavened bread until one on the 21st day of the month at even. 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. Whosoever eat that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Yasharal, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. You shall eat nothing leavened in all your habitations. You shall eat unleavened bread. Then Moses called for all the elders of Yasharal and said unto them, draw you out, take you a lamb according to your families, and kill the Passover. And you shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the two side posts with the blood that is in the basin, and none of you shall go out of his door until the morning. Now, he told you to grab you a bunch of hyssop, and this is why we're here. Now, of course, you know the word here is azob, ayin, zayin, u, and bat. And you can give me what you got for that. I said ayin, my apologies. I meant to say olive. Olive, zayin, u, and bat. Hyssop is a plant that is used for medicinal and religious purposes. We'll see if I can find you a photograph of it. Let them doggone pot here. They'll tell you that hyssop a little bit of bud. That's what they'll tell you there. But it is not. McAfee, I don't want your solution. So stop. I don't know if you can see it. I have to turn my lights down. I don't know if you can see that, but that's some good hyssop for you right there. Hold on, let me turn the light up a little bit so you can see that right there at the bottom. Just bring that up to the top a little bit. And there you go. And there you go. It's a shrub. It's in the mint family. Say it's native to Southern Europe and the so-called Middle East and the region surrounding the Caspian Sea. It is known to be as an antiseptic, a cough reliever, and things of that such. It is good for intestinal pain, intestinal gas, colic, loss of appetite, respiratory problems, coughs, common cold, respiratory infections, sore throat, and asthma. But you have olive, zayin, u, and bat. It's known to have a bitter taste, which is why it would be going along with being sour wine. But olive, zayin, u, and bat. Don't everybody rush at one time. And I got time, cuz. Yeah, because we're not going to talk about cleansing a leper tonight. Aleph, Zayin, U, and Bat. You can go ahead and slide your way. Numbers 19. While we're at it. Oh, y'all not going to participate, huh? That is unfortunate. This means hyssop plant. That plant that I showed you, that's the Hebrew word for azob, is the Hebrew word for hyssop. Sean, you have the harvest of the Son will pair you to the Father. Very well then. Anybody else before I proceed? Anybody else before I proceed? Aleph, Zayin, U, and Ba. Now, Sean used harvest, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, I'm going to look at it in the context of what is occurring here. When they giving him the hyssop because he thirsts, because he's being sacrificed. So I'm going to take that Zayin, and I'm going to make that to be cut. And we're going to sit back and we're going to look at it at the strength of Yasharal, or the strength of the Son, caused him to be nailed and pierced. You understand? The strength of the Son of Elohim caused him to be nailed and cut. Nailed and cut. And there's a reason for this. The Father's fruitful sacrifice pairs us to the house. Absolutely. I mean, both of y'all are good. There's nothing wrong with either one of them. I'm just mentioning that because of the direction that I'm going to go. Nothing wrong with either one of them. I want you to come to Numbers 19. I want you to come to Numbers 19. I want you to pick it up at verse 11. Just go ahead on really. Well, here's a little different, a little nutmeg. Green apple on the top. A little nutmeg. Well, that's not allegedly. This is factual. This particular house was made strictly for, what is this nigga's name going to get? Louis the 15th. And their fragrances were only made public about 12 years ago. But they made fragrances for Louis the 15th since 1743. That's what they say. Kind of smells like Mancera red tobacco, but nevertheless, he that touched the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days. He shall purify himself with it on the third day. And on the seventh day, he shall be clean. But if he purify not himself the third day, the seventh day, he shall not be clean. So let's look at something. As we look at this particular passage, he that touch a dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days. And we look at verse 12. He shall purify himself with it on the third day. Now, of course, I didn't start with that. So I guess I need to back this up for us to get the completion of why that even starts there. So come back to verse 1 of Numbers 19, or we're going to be incomplete. Numbers 19:1, Yahuwah spake unto Moses unto Aaron, saying, This is the ordinance of the law, which you have commanded, saying, Speak unto the sons of Yasharal, that they bring you a red heifer without spot, wherein is no blemish, upon which never came yoke. So, first things first, just so we can know, and it kind of goes, we talked about this earlier this afternoon. When we're looking at without spot, of course, y'all know the word. You're familiar with it. That's tamaim. And you know what that is. That's complete. That is whole. That is entire. That is sound. That is unimpaired. That is innocent. That is having integrity. A word that is used for the word that is used for perfect in certain locations. So when we look at this here, right? Because we read this earlier this afternoon. You know in Job 11, it say, make iniquity be far from you. Job 11:13 to be specific. Put it far from your tabernacles. You will lift up your head without spot. Now, I'm just going to look at Job to see what they use for without spot before I sit back and say that correlates with what we're talking about, and then it doesn't. And then we would have told the story. So when we look at without spot here, we have moon. That is without spot, blemish, or defect, or moral stain, which in all entirety is the same thing. So when we turn around and look at it, a red heifer must be given with no sin. Nothing wrong with it, which we started in Exodus 12, talking about the Passover. And the Passover lamb had to be firstborn without blemish. So we're getting to something, because they gave him gall for his meat and vinegar for his thirst. And when Mashiach cried out, they put the hyssop on the vinegar, for healing purposes, and gave it to him. I'll read you verse 29 while I'm still there. Now, as the vessel was set full of vinegar, they filled it with sponge and vinegar, put it upon hyssop, put it to his mouth. When Yahushua had therefore received the vinegar, he said, it is finished. He bowed his head and gave up the ruach. So, and this is why we're here, because we're still talking about something that's going to lead us in to us talking about Passover and all this whole other stuff that we're discussing. Yahuwah willing, we may get round to more conversation with David and Saul, and we may not. Yahuwah knows. But nevertheless, no, don't care. He said that you would be steadfast without fear. Now, y'all know that he told you that a man ought to love his wife as Mashiach loved his, and that he might present his house without spot, wrinkle, or blemish, or any such thing. This is why when I looked at the hyssop and the azob and the olive, the zayin, the u, and the bat, and you sit back and see, well, who is the strength of the son? The Father is the strength of the son, and he called him to be nailed and pierced, or nailed and cut. He caused this to happen because he was a sacrifice without blemish, without spot. He was tamaim. He was perfect. He was sound. He was innocent. He was complete. That's the same thing when we turn around and we look at David dealing with Saul. David in that interaction is complete. He's entire. He's sound. He has no offense. He has not done anything. He has been hated without a cause, just to put it simply. Let's return back to Numbers 19. Let's look at wherein there is no blemish. And of course, we have that word, which is moon. No defects, no moral stains. But let's look at, never a yoke. And when we look at never a yoke has come upon, and we simply look at yoke, and you know what a yoke is. And that's something that's been opposed upon the neck. Yoke, ole, ayin, and lamad. And you can go. Ayin and lamad. Ole, apostrophe O-L. That nutmeg is delightful. Simply delightful. Looking at that batch code. To know the shepherd. Shalom, man. Indeed. Anyone else would like to add to that? Anything that they would like to add to that? What's she doing? I just want to get you a low. Of course, a yoke to experience discipline. Very well then. This is how you know. A yoke is it's a wooden cross piece that's fastened to two animals and attached to the plow of the cart that they are to pull. That's why he tells you this, makes this statement. Come over here to 1 Timothy chapter 5, I believe. That's why this statement here is made before we proceed. Have you finished your task? Oh, why haven't you completed it? I mean, there's no need to be looking crazy because I asked you a simple question. Just because I asked you a question does not mean that you'll be reprimanded for the answer or to know the teachings. Very well, sir. 1 Timothy chapter 5. Come over here to about verse 17. That means I'm just desirous to understand why you haven't completed your assignment. Why haven't you completed your assignment? Were you in there being lazy? So what were you doing? Oh, she had a lot. Oh, so she just had a lot. I understand. You had a large task. And you had a large task because you had been being lazy all week. Look at you now. 1 Timothy 5 and 17. Let the elders that rule well be counted worthy of double honor, especially they who labor in the word and doctrine. For the scripture saith, you shall not muzzle the ox that tread out the corn, and the laborer is worthy of his hire. Now, of course, if you bring out an ox or you have oxen, then you would put a yoke upon them. Matter of fact, I think it's a verse in Psalms 20. Let's come over here to Psalms 20. Also, Mother, just because I asked you a question, all that be looking crazy. You ain't got to do all that. All that is not necessary. Ready to eat. Yes. Oh, is that Psalm 20? Is that something else? I know what I'm thinking about. I know exactly what I'm thinking about. It might be Psalms 20, but I know what I'm thinking about. Yoke is not contained in that. I think I recall what I'm referring to. This is Psalms 20. Let me see. I can't remember. No, it's not Psalms 20. Y'all, what is going to come to my mind? What I desire. Now I remember. Are you keeping this? Yes, I am. I'm going to need those. Y'all will in the morning. It's Psalms 32. Psalms 32 is what I desire. Psalms 32 and 8. We still need to talk about good Psalms 139, don't we? Yeah. Finish with that. Psalms 32:8. I will instruct you and teach you in the way that you shall go. I will guide you with mine eye. Be you not as a horse or as a mule, which have no understanding, whose mouth must be held in with bit and bridle, lest they come near unto you. Many sorrows shall be to the wicked, but he that trusts in Yahuwah, mercy shall compass him about. Be glad in Yahuwah. Rejoice, you righteous, and shout for joy, all you that are upright in heart. What do y'all believe that means? When he says, don't be as a mule which has no understanding, who must be held in with bit and bridle. What is a brit? What is a bridle? Let me share it with you. I know you know what it is, but to be specific, some of you may have not rode horses. Some of you may not be familiar with that. Some of you may have not watched, what do you call it? The Kentucky Derby and things of that sort. I don't know if any of you care for horse racing. I myself do not. But I am familiar with the the sport, if that's what we would like to call it. Who knew that bit and bridle was feminine fashion? Feminine fashion, stylish comfort, unmatched for quality for women of every age. Every bit and bridle piece is designed to be functional yet feminine, worn for every occasion, and it's found exclusively at Tractor Supply Company. Look at that. But what do y'all think that means? That don't be as a mule that doesn't need a bit or a bridle. Don't everybody run at one time. This one ain't even that hard, y'all. Y'all smart people. Y'all get this one here. This easy. This is easy. I give you the Hebrew word for it just on the house. A bit is metheg, bridle, meaning a curb, a bit, a bridle. And of course, a good old bridle is rezin, reshin, rosh, samak, and noon, if you'd like to know. It's something that restrains, halters your jaw, curbs your mouth. So, of course, you know, that's the thing they put on the horse's mouth when they're riding the horse. So what does he mean when he's telling you don't be like a horse that doesn't have understanding, whose mouth must be held in with bit and bridle, lest they come near unto you? Oh, you look like you're famished. Are you famished? Do you even know what that means?
You're hungry.
Oh, look at you. You're catching on. How you know that? Who told you that?
Yeah, I asked you.
Oh, I told you that. So that's how you know that. How do you spell it? Now you're stumped. You weren't ready for that one, were you? Why should you ask questions, Muffin?
That's just my thing.
Huh?
That's just my thing.
That's just your thing? No, I said, why should you ask questions?
I don't know.
What?
I don't know.
So you don't know. So you just ask questions because that's your thing. You should ask questions because that's how you learn information. You can't learn information if you don't ask questions. If you want to be one of them smarty-art people that's scared to ask questions because you're scared to how you're going to look towards others, that's how you end up growing up and being stupid. Very well. Says, since they have no understanding or give respect or honor, they open their mouth to speak foolishly. And I can see why you would say that. Listen, specifically the purpose of a bit and bridle is to guide the animal, because the animal doesn't have understanding, therefore it's wild. Let me look at it, 26:3. Let me see what it says, sir. Let's go over here to Proverbs 26 and 3. Yes, absolutely. Let's come over here. Let's look at Proverbs 26 and 3. Let's do that. And it says, a whip for a horse, a bridle for the ass, and a rod for the fool's back. Now, why would you whip a horse? Anyone, why would you whip a horse? Indeed, whip here is shot, scourge, whip. Now, we're thinking about scourge. What is scourging? Do you know what a scourge is, Muffin?
No.
Scourge is a beating. When someone is scourged, they're being chastised. They're being spanked, if you will. Have you been scourged?
Yes.
Why were you scourged? You were scourged because you were out of line. See, sometimes scourge. Now, I was just thinking about this, y'all. A whip is for a horse's back, so that's being scourged. Come over here to Matthew, I believe. I want to say Matthew 27, but I could be in the wrong gospel. We shall find out shortly. I believe we are in the wrong. Oh, no, we're not. 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 I think we are. I think I picked the wrong one. I think I picked the wrong one. Give me a second. I'm thinking about Luke. Might be Luke. Do you like to be scourged, Muffin?
No.
Why not? I was running right. Come over here to Mark 15. Well, really, I'll do all of them. I'll do all of them. You know what? Yeah, I'll do all of them. Matthew 27. I was in the right place the first time. Matthew chapter 27, verse 21. You don't like to be corrected. Why not? So you would like to go the wrong way and nobody telling you you're going the wrong way? Doing the wrong things? That's what correction is for. If you're doing something wrong, wouldn't you want someone to tell you that's not the right thing to do? Do you not know Yahuwah says, do not despise the chastening of Yahuwah? For whom Yahuwah loves, he chastens. So don't you know when someone corrects you, it's because they love you? Because if they didn't love you, they wouldn't care what you did. They just let you do whatever you want. See, if someone doesn't tell you, Muffin, don't do that, and they just let you do something, they don't care anything about you. You never thought about it like that, did you? Of course not. Matthew 27 and 21. The governor answered and said unto them, whether the twain of will you that I release unto you? They said, Barabbas. Pilate said unto them, what shall I do then with Yahushua, which is called Hamashiach? They said all unto him, let him be crucified. The governor said, why? What evil have he done? But they cried out the more, saying, let him be crucified. When Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but rather atonement was made, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person. See you to it. Then answered all the people and said, his blood be upon us and on our children. Then released he Barabbas unto them, and when he had scourged Yahushua, he delivered him to be crucified. So we have three accounts of him being scourged. We'll come to John 19 because Mark 15 pretty much rehashes the same thing. Unless you want to read Mark 15. I will ask Muffin. Muffin, would you like to hear Mark 15? Let's go to Mark 15 because Muffin said she would like to hear Mark 15. Mark 15 and 7. 6. Mark 15 and 6. We have Proverbs 26 and 3. Psalms 32 and 9. Psalm 69 and 21. Numbers 19. That is all. Now at the feast he had released unto them one prisoner whomsoever they desired. There was one named Barabbas which lay bound with them that made an insurrection with him, who had committed murder in the insurrection. The multitude crying aloud began to desire him to do as he had ever done unto them. Pilate answered them, saying, Will you that I release unto you the Malach of the Yahudim? For they knew that the chief priests had delivered him for envy. But the chief priests moved the people that they should rather release Barabbas unto them. Pilate answered and said again unto them, What will you then that I shall do unto him whom you call the Malach of the Yahudim? They cried out again, Crucify him. Then Pilate said unto them, Why? What evil have he done? They cried out the more exceedingly, Crucifying. So Pilate, willing to content the people, released Barabbas unto them and delivered Yahushua, and when he had scourged him, to be crucified. So as you can see, and this is going to be a twofold thing with a couple of things. You see the whip is for the horse. Why is it important for the horse? Horse here is sus. Horse, chariot, horse, whatever the case may be. You have samak, and samak. So you see something, right? You see it rejoiced the son of Elohim to grab hold to the nail. This is why he is willing to be whipped, if you would. Let's come to John chapter 19 and 1. Pilate therefore took Yahushua and scourged him. And the soldiers platted a crown of thorns and put it on his head and put on him a purple robe and said, Hail, Malach of the Yahudim, and they smote them with their hands. Pilate went forth again and said unto him, Behold, I bring him forth to you, that you may know that I find no fault in him. Then came Yahushua forth wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. And Pilate said unto them, Behold the man. When the chief priests therefore and the officers saw him, they cried out, saying, Crucify him, crucify him. Pilate said unto them, Take you him and crucify him. I find no fault in him. Yahudim answered him, We have a law, and by our law he ought to die, because he made himself the son of Elohim. So now it says there's a bridle for an ass. And of course, you know an ass is a mule. You know what I'm saying? Kamor. And of course, we just talked about a bridle. And we could read that story, but we're not. Mateg. And this is also dealing with control or authority. See, when you deal with, and I'm going to read something in Psalms in regard to this here, right? When you deal with an animal, they don't have any understanding. That's why you say he that have understanding is worthy as death, because you're the same as a brute beast. Brute beast life are not concerned. Now, you're not supposed to mistreat your animals, but they're not the same as a human being. See, this is not America where they care more about animals than they do people. Yahuwah cares more about people than animals. You understand? And if you are akin to a brute beast, or you're akin to a mule that needs a bridle, that means you're under no authority. This is why I say the red heifer doesn't need to have a yoke come upon him, because this red heifer never needs to be disciplined. This is a red heifer that has never went out into the task, went and did any labor. More specifically, he hasn't went out there and tread the field, if you would, like we read in that 1 Timothy chapter 5, I believe. So when you're looking at this here, they haven't done any work. In regards to Mashiach of not having the yoke, he has not committed sin. This is where this correlates at. So let's look at the next thing. A rod for a fool's back. Of course, you know rod is the staff, the scepter, mark of authority, Shabbat, Shan, Bat, and Tet. So, of course, you know that Yahushua was beaten across his back. All these things, because he was deemed to be a fool. We have multiple verses for that. Proverbs 7 to be specific. Couple other locations. Of course, you know we're fools for Mashiach's sake. So when we turn back to Psalms 32, and we look at it more in depthly, more specifically, verse 9, We should not be as an animal that doesn't have understanding. Remember, if you don't have understanding, you are worthy of death. Because now somebody's going to have to keep you under control and authority, and you don't need to come near unto that. See, we kind of talked about this earlier this afternoon. When you're filled with the Ruach HaKodesh doesn't necessarily put a bit and a bridle in you and make you keep the word. You keep the word on your own because you have understanding. We talked about this, I think, last week as well. Get wisdom, and in all you're getting, get understanding. Because if you fear Yahuwah, that's the beginning of wisdom. So you understand what to do and what not to do. But when you gain understanding, you get the insight of why he is telling you what not to do and what to do, which enhances the wisdom. See, a lot of people, they know what to do and what not to do, but they don't have the insight on why. Which means, yeah, you could have the wisdom, but when you take wisdom and you add it with understanding, that causes the completion of the righteousness of Elohim. Deidre, they say that nigga had a DUI. That nigga was drunk who hit that trooper, you see. You called that out too? So I want you to look at that in that regard. It's about having understanding. Psalm 92. Probably about verse 7. Actually, verse 7 is not good enough. Verse 5, actually. Psalm 92 and 5. O Yahuwah, how great are your works, and your thoughts are very deep. A brutish man know not, neither do a fool understand this. Now, I'm going to tell you what a brutish man is, just so you know. When you're dealing with a brutish man, that is ba'ar, that is literally stupid. Literally means stupid. Brutishness, stupidity. Simple as that. Stupid man don't know. That is akin to an animal that doesn't have any understanding, that needs a bit and a bridle in his mouth. The horse doesn't have understanding. That's why you have to whip it. You understand? See, that ass needs a bridle in order to control it. See, Yahuwah does not control anyone. You do it because of the honor and respect that you have for him. He's not going to control you. You come under his authority. That means you got down with what he got going on. See, of course, we live in a time where women be like, he's trying to control me because this man has standards and parameters. See, we take standards and parameters as control. When you hear somebody say somebody that's trying to control them because they told them you're going to do this like this, or this is the consequence, you're dealing with a rebellious person. You're dealing with a person who is as that mule and that ass that needs a bridle and brit in their mouth, and you need to get away from them because they have no desire to be directed. And when someone doesn't have a desire to be directed, of course, that's going to be that Proverbs 27:1. They're going to have to be corrected ad nauseum, which means they've hardened their neck, and that they shall be destroyed and without remedy. You can't do anything with anybody like that. See, we live in we've been told in this society, in this culture, whether you're in the word or not, to fight battles that you cannot win. You cannot win with someone who does not desire to be directed. And you can't force them to. And this is what he is letting you know. He is telling you a stupid person does not know how deep his works are. So why would you try to convince a stupid person of it? All this is telling you is that a natural man cannot receive the things of the Ruach of Elohim. He is not spiritually discerned. Well, why is he not spiritually discerned? Because he has not used the word. Why has he not used the word? Because he does not believe the word. So therefore, there is no way that he could receive the things of the Ruach of Elohim, because the Ruach of Elohim is not carnal. It does not participate in carnal activities. It does not have carnal concerns. It does not have carnal machinations. We don't seem to understand that. We don't seem to understand that it's because we want to make Elohim a man. But he has told you that he is not a man, that he should lie, nor the son of a man that he should repent. Your Elohim is not a man, he is a Ruach. And everyone that worships him must worship him in Ruach and in truth. That's a different type of scenario. That's why people try to change things up and make themselves feel better about doing it and come up with all the extra stuff to try to add on to the man. See, that's whole stuff. And I ain't talking about no women doing it. I'm talking about dudes be doing it. A lot of dudes be doing it to appease women, but nevertheless, it's whole stuff. Because the man said what he said and he is who he is. You ain't got to like it. But if you don't like what he's about, keep his name out your mouth and go on about your business. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not that hard. Keep your name, his name out your mouth. Because you're going to get the same reward either way. You're going to go to hell. You know what I'm saying? And the righteous are going to wash their feet in your blood. You understand? They're going to execute judgment on your head. See, we don't want to hear that because you want to think about executing judgment on wicked government officials. No, you're going to execute judgment on some very people you sat down with and heard the word with on a nice Sabbath or feast day. You understand? Let's not neglect that fact that that is going to occur. Who do you think that was who Jehu came through and slew in them temples for worshiping Baal? You thought them were Gentiles he did that to? Oh, no. By no means it was not. So we're going to have to deal with reality. We're going to have to come up out this fantasy. See, we talk about women living in the fantasy land, but when it comes to this word, there's a lot of brothers living in the fantasy land, living in delusion. You're not living in the reality of what this man talking about. You done created a scenario in your brain that is contrary to what this man has said. It's not going to change because that's what you want it to be. You're going to have to deal with reality. I thank the Lord. I've been dealing with reality, what the word said from day one. Boy, say what it say. He going to do what he going to do, and he going to do it to who he want to do it to, whether it be salvation or whether it be damnation. He going to make it happen. So you have to understand that. When you lack understanding, you are equal to an animal. And no matter how we try to make it seem like animals are smart, they are not when it comes to the word of Elohim, because they cannot receive the understanding of Elohim. The understanding of Elohim is what sets a man apart from everyone else. Because you got men who have wisdom, but they have no understanding. You have men who have knowledge, but they have no wisdom. But then you have those that have all three. When you have an individual who has all three, that man is not far from the kingdom of Elohim, because if he has the knowledge of Elohim, then of course he's going to have the wisdom of Elohim. And if he can acquire the wisdom of Elohim with the knowledge of Elohim, then he can begin to grab the understanding of Elohim. And you know that when Yahushua resurrected from the dead and opened up the scriptures, he opened their understanding to have insight on what the will of Elohim is. And when you have knowledge of what the will of Elohim is, that's when you can have the ability to grab hold to salvation. Let's begin and finish this verse 7 in Psalms 92. He said, when the wicked spring is grass, and when all the work of iniquities do flourish, it is that they shall be destroyed forever. So we're not getting around that. See, we want to try to dance around it and spin around it, but we're not going to be able to do it. We're good in Psalms 92. We're good in Psalms 32. Let's return to Numbers 19. Now let me speed that up a tad. So when we're looking at it, right, no spot, no blemish, no yoke. Now, Sean had up there, Stanley put to know the shepherd for yoke, to experience discipline, or to know the teachings. Because the son knew the teachings and knew the chief shepherd above him, of course he wouldn't have no need for no yoke. Let's continue. Verse 3. Numbers 19, you shall give her unto Eleazar the priest, that he may bring her forth without the camp, and one shall slay her before his face. Well, how do we equate this to the Gospels? Because, matter of fact, let me do this. Of course, you know slaughter is shakat. That is a sacrifice, a person in a human sacrifice. To be slaughtered, to be slain for sacrifice. It is shan, kat, and tet. So we already see that there is a separation for the consuming of the snake, the serpent, or of death. But now I'm going to ask y'all this. Wait for it. What passages do you have in your brain at this moment that you can use and equate and say this relates to Mashiach being the red heifer? It could be old or new. What passages do you know? What passages can you say? What passages can you use? What passages can you use to relate to Mashiach as being the red heifer? Anybody? Y'all got something for me? Anybody got any passages that you can use to show that Mashiach is the red heifer? Oh man, I thought y'all have something for me, no problem on that one. I thought that'd be pretty easy for you. You say Hebrews 4 and 15? Well, let's look and see. Hebrews 4 and 15. Okay, that's a little different. That's a little different because the red heifer gets used in a different situation. It's actually in Hebrews 12, I want to say, where it referenced the red heifer specifically. Let me look and see. Might be Hebrews 9. It's Hebrews 9. It's Hebrews 9 that references the red heifer situation and circumstance specifically. Anybody else? Y'all got anything for me? Y'all ain't got nothing for me. Well, it's all right if you don't. Well, let's do this. Let's do it like this. Isaiah chapter 1 for one. Because that's one we've shared with you many a time. Isaiah chapter 1 for one. Let's do that. I don't want to use that. Not quite yet. Let's come over here to Isaiah chapter 1. We pick it up at verse 16. Wash you, make you clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before my eyes. Cease to do evil. Learn to do well. Seek judgment. Relieve the oppressed. Judge the fatherless. Plead for the widow. Come now, let us reason together, saith Yahuwah. Though your sins be as scarlet, yes, it does. They shall be white as snow, and though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool. So as you see, your sins are compared to being as scarlet. Scarlet. Now, of course, the red heifer is red, but the thought that I thought, see, that Leviticus 14 and 1, that's dealing with leprosy. That's why I said I wasn't going to go there with that one, because that's dealing with leprosy. As far as you dealing with scarlet, and we don't want to venture down the road of talking about leprosy this evening, because that's going to take us in a whole nother direction, and we don't want to go in that direction this evening. Not to say that we won't go in that direction, you who are willing in the future, but we don't want to go in that direction right now. Come over here to Matthew 27. See, this is what I thought y'all were going to come up with off the top. the evidence showing you that Mashiach became the red heifer. (27 and 27). Matthew 27, 27. And then the soldiers of the governor took Yahushua into the common hall, gathered it unto him the whole band of soldiers, and they stripped him and put him on him a scarlet robe. Now, when we begin to talk about a scarlet robe, we read about them putting on him a purple robe, and that's when we can begin to start talking about Joseph's coat of many colors. But that's also another conversation for another day. But let's come over here back to Numbers 19, because I was going to go to the Hebrews 9 now, but we're going to wait. You're going to take this red heifer and you're going to bring her out before the camp and slay her before the face of the high priest. We know that Capheus was the high priest during the time of Yahushua, and he was brought out before him and was slain. Let's pick up verse 4 of Numbers 19. Eleazar the priest shall take of her blood with his finger and sprinkle of her blood directly before the tabernacle of the congregation 7 times. One shall burn the heifer in his sight. Her skin, her flesh, her blood, with her dung shall he burn. Now, of course, we know that Yahushua was not physically burned. But I want you to come over here to Matthew 20 and 20. After Matthew 20 and 20, Luke chapter 12. Matthew 20 and 20. Then came to him the mother of Zebedee's children with her sons, worshiping him, desiring a certain thing of him. And I want y'all just to know that when they say that worshiping of him, that him ain't even there. It just said they came worshiping. So that means they came bowing down to the ground. I know a lot of people tell you Mashiach wasn't worship, and they're foolish for telling you that. You shouldn't even listen to nobody say that, because these people acknowledged him as being the king of Yasharal, and these people gave obeisance to the king. And you can see that throughout the text. So when you hear an individual tell you that, this is again someone who you're dealing with that possibly, either through ignorance or through straight belligerence, has no desire to humble themselves before a king. Now, I know that most people don't have that understanding because you've never dwelt in a monarchy. So you don't know. So you'll have in your mind the king, and you'll equate that with a politician, or how you feel about Queen Elizabeth or King Louis XV or whatever the case may be. But if you didn't give honor to a king, that's disrespect. Now, see, we don't want to talk about what Mordecai didn't do it. We ain't talking about dealing with no Gentile. We talking about your king. So you mean to tell me you wouldn't give worship and obeisance and honor and respect to your own king? Well, you a lie if you ever told one, or you're a wicked bastard. So you have to pay attention to that, because we can read the text. People bowed down to David and worshiped him. People did it to Solomon. That's what you do to a king. That's respect. So why wouldn't they do it to Yahushua if he is the King of the Jews, King of kings, Lord of lords, the king who will sit upon the throne of David and rule over Yasharal? Why would not those who believed on him, why would they not give him that proper honor and respect? That's why after his resurrection, when he said all hail, the men bowed down to the ground. See, the men had proper honor and respect. They knew this day king. How am I not going to respect my king? See, we have to look at that type of stuff. If we walk around here, they ain't worship Mashiach. What book you reading, boy? So you mean to tell me if that man was in your face, you wouldn't bow down and give this man the proper respect? Come on, man. These niggas crazy. You can't pay attention to a lot of stuff people say. I'm telling you, a lot of people say stuff, man, and they say they profess to know the word. And I remember a dude say, you can't find the word pastor in the Old Testament. I'm like, are you serious, bro? It's all through the book of Jeremiah. What is you talking about? That man said, I have hastened to be a pastor to follow you. So you have to be paying attention. A lot of these dudes, man, a lot of these dudes be saying stuff, man, and they just as dumb as the Christian preachers who they be talking about. They don't know the word just like them people don't know it. They only know the word to argue specific points and doctrines that niggas like to argue. They actually don't know Elohim. That's why he stood up and said, Kadash Abba, they have not known you. The world have not known you. Because we're not seeking to know the man. You're seeking to know something. See, there's a difference of seeking to know something and seeking to know someone. Because when you seek to know someone, you're seeking to learn every aspect of who they are as an individual. When you're seeking to know something, you just want to have some information just to throw around. So you have to ask yourself, are you seeking to know about Yahuwah, or are you seeking to know Yahuwah? Because there is a difference. Nevertheless, where am I presently? Matthew 20 and 21. And he said unto her, what will you? She said unto me, grant that these my two sons may sit, the one on your right hand, the other on your left, in your kingdom. Yahushua answered and said, you know not what you ask. Are you able to drink of the cup that I shall drink of, and to be immersed with the immersion that I am immersed with? Well, let's see what type of immersion that he's going to be immersed with from his own words. Luke 12 and 49. Luke 12 and 49. I come to send fire on the earth. And what will I if it be already kindled? I have an immersion to be immersed with. And how am I straightened till it be accomplished? So when we look at this here, of course, you know his burning of this heifer. Let's get the Hebrew word for heifer along with burn. First things first is heifer. It is parah. Pay, Rosh, and Hay. Behold the word of Elohim. Simple as that. Or like when you seen John say, behold the Lamb of Elohim. Behold the word of Elohim. When they put that scarlet robe on him, they were beholding the word of Elohim, or the word of the salvation, of which they rejected. Because they were as mules who needed brits and bridles, because they were brutish men. They were stupid men. They were stupid men. See, we get a lot of people, you can't talk about people like that. Man, you niggas need to untuck your nuts and stop being hoes, man. A nigga dumb, nigga's dumb. If he's stupid, he's stupid. If he's a jackass, he's a jackass. If he's a fool, he's a fool. That's why most men don't improve. That's why most women don't improve. Because don't nobody want to look them in the face and tell them the truth and hurt their feelings. But you're doing more people more disservice by not being direct and honest with an assessment based off of their conduct, not no personal feelings, not no anger, not no none of that, just straight, unadulterated, cold assessment of facts and information. See, when you're dealing with an assessment of work, see, if any of you have ever been to a job assessment, job assessments can be very cold. If you've ever had an assessment come from a customer that you've dealt with, some of them can be very cold because they're going to deal directly with the experience of your labor, your work, your actions. See, we become so emotional as a group of people that the only thing that we want to deal with is you don't want to hear anything critical. You only want to hear adulation. You only want to hear how great you are. And somebody tells you, you know what, hey, this is my experience here. You know what I'm saying? That's what it like. Brother called me today. He like this here, man. I let a dude hear you preach, man. He said he ain't like it. He felt such and such was better. I don't care. Now, if he had said, hey, man, I heard this, this, and this what I took from it. Now he's giving a critical assessment. Okay, I may take what he has to say. I may not. But if you just say, oh, you're trash. This person's better than you. Well, go buy from them. That's the only thing I can tell you. Because I'm not finna beg you to buy from me. I know my work good. Every one of you, if it's something that you do and you know you do it well, you shouldn't beg anybody to go along with it. Because you already know that what the value that you have to give, the service that you provide, the product that you provide, you know that it's good work. See, and I mentioned that because Yahushua never had to beg anyone to do anything. This is good work. What do you mean? When no man walked away from him, he didn't run and say, come back and follow me. I didn't mean to say it like that. He let them step and looked at his apostles and said, y'all gonna lead too? See, we don't look at that and pay attention to that on an actual, real human level. Like an individual who has supreme confidence in who they are and what they have to offer. When this man said what he had to say in John chapter 6 and them men stopped walking with him, he did not chase them men and beg them men to come back. He didn't say, oh, I meant it like this, or they feelings hurt. He didn't say absolutely nothing. He let them slide and looked at the 12 and say, are you going to leave also? That's when Peter said, where we going to go? Well, you got the words of everlasting life. Peter said, man, you know you got that word, man. I ain't going nowhere, man. We already know you got that word. You know you got it. See, when you're confident in who you are in Elohim and what he has given you, there is no need for you to chase after anyone. There's no need for you to beg anyone because they're missing out by choice. See, we feel like we've taken on the nurturing role of a woman, and you're trying to beg, plead, and cajole and nurture and all these things to get people to do what you feel is beneficial for them. Men do not do that. Men extend an offer. They manifest the benefits of the offer. And if you reject the offer, that is on you. Because I know that my offer is good. The offer of everlasting salvation is good. But it comes with compliance. It comes with something that you're going to have to do in order to get what he has to offer. And if you deem that as yourself being unworthy of that, then that's on you. Because I already know what I have is good. When we're talking about remission of sins, when we're talking about an everlasting ruach and an everlasting kingdom, rule and dominion on the earth with Elohim, the ability to dwell with Elohim and see Elohim, that is a grade A offer. That's a grade A offer. There's no holes in that offer. But in order to get what he's offering, he desires trust and compliance, which means we've already talked about that. That's submission and obedience. Now, if you say, I don't want to yield to that and obey what you have to say, then that means you've deemed my offer unworthy because you're saying what I have is not valuable to you. So who am I to try to convince you of how valuable I am if you have not acknowledged that when I have manifested unto you my value? I'm not going to convince you. Like as a man, if you're valuable and that woman wants to depart, she's the dummy. Because she's not going to find another man as valuable as you. Because if she could have, she would have already had. You're not going to find another Elohim as valuable as you. I can guarantee you that. I will put any amount of money on that. Shoot, truth be told, I put my life on that. There's nobody more valuable than Yahuwah. You're not going to find another deity that can be called God under heaven that is more valuable than Yahuwah. You're not going to find it. There's not a lot of things that are impossible. That is impossible. And we put money on that. We put blood on that. There's no way that's not happening. That's unequivocal. That is not happening. So understanding that, I'm not going to be able to replace this man. So why would I depart from him? Are you okay? Or you're just tired, aren't you? You had a long day. A long day of swimming, playing, and farting, huh?
I didn't fart today.
Oh, you did? No gas, no flatulence? You made a point to let that be known that you hadn't did that, huh? I just be having you all confused, don't I? It's okay. We're trying to help you out. Trying to help you be swift on your toes. Just be a swift thinker. What I was going at? I finished with that. Let's come back over here to Numbers 19. Verse 6. Numbers 19 says, the priest shall take cedar wood, hyssop, and scarlet, and cast it into the midst of the burning of the heifer. Then the priest shall wash his clothes and shall bathe his flesh in water. And afterwards he shall come into the camp, and the priest shall be unclean unto the even. And he that burned her shall wash his clothes in water and bathe his flesh in water, and shall be unclean unto the even. And the man that is clean shall gather up the ashes of the heifer, and lay them up without the camp in a clean place. And it shall be kept for the congregation of the sons of Yasharal for a water of separation. It is the purification for sin. So the burning of the heifer and the ashes of the heifer, ashes here is afer. Aleph, Pei, and Raj. It's the strength of the words of the highest. Simple as that. So when we look at those ashes are representative of the strength of his word. When we turn around and we look at it, it's being kept as a water of separation. Separation here is nada, and this is impurity, filthiness, menstruous, set apart, impurity, an impure thing. Noon, dalet, and hay. Behold, the sacrifice of life. So when you look at this here, right, his sacrifice was an impurity because what does the law tell you? He that is nailed to a tree, cursed is he that hangeth from a tree. Therefore, that is that set aside for a water of separation to purify you from sin. When we look at this purification for sin, of course, you know it's simply kata. This is to make sure that you are separated from sin, or the ma'im of nada for kata, a water of impurity to remove your sins. Let's look at verse 10. He that gather the ashes of the heifer shall wash his clothes and be unclean unto the even. It shall be unto the sons of Yasharal and to the stranger that sojourn among them for a statute forever. He that touched the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days. He shall purify himself with it on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day he shall be clean. But if he purify not himself the 3rd day, then the 7th day he shall not be clean. Whosoever touch the dead body of any man that is dead and purify not himself, defile the tabernacle of Yahuwah. And that soul shall be cut off from Yasharal, because the water of separation was not sprinkled upon him. He shall be unclean. His uncleanliness is yet upon him. This is the law when a man die in a tent. All that come into the tent and all that is in the tent shall be unclean 7 days. Every open vessel which have no covering bound upon it is unclean. Whosoever touch one that is slain with a sword in the open fields, or a dead body, or a bone of a man, or a grave, shall be unclean 7 days. And for any unclean person, they shall take the ashes of the burnt heifer of purification for sin. Running water shall be put therein into a vessel. The clean person shall take hyssop and dip it in the water, sprinkle it upon the tent, upon the vessels, upon the persons that were there, upon him that touched a bone or slain, one dead or a grave. And the clean person shall sprinkle upon the unclean on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day, and on the 7th day he shall purify himself and wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and shall be unclean until the even. Now we read a lot, but a specific thing that we want to focus on, and that is this: the touching of the dead body with the water of separation. Now I want to ask you this here. Who is familiar when Mary Magdalene ran up to Mashiach and sought to desire to touch him? Let me ask this here. Who's not familiar? Let me ask that instead. Who is not familiar with Mary Magdalene running up to touch the Lord? Who is not familiar with that particular story? Muffin? Little Muffin, come. Come sit with me. Move the bag and come sit right here. Do you know who Mary Magdalene is, Muffin? No. But I understand. His mother's name was Mary. Do you know how to say Mary in Hebrew, Muffin? No. It's Miriam. Miriam. Can you say that? Miriam. You're tired, aren't you? Would you like some coffee? Energy drink? I just had some juice. Oh, you like some juice? I just had some. Oh, so you just had a cup of sugar. Wasn't too much juice. Halfway. Oh, it was halfway. John 19 and 20 and 11. If you're going to do all that, you might as well go down and retire for the evening. But Mary stood without the sepulchre weeping, and as she wept, she stooped down and looked into the sepulchre. She see two Malachim in white sitting, the one at the head, the one at the other feet, where the body of Yahushua had lain. When they say unto her, Woman, why weep you? She said unto them, Because you have taken away my Lord, and I have not known where you have laid him. When she had thus said, she turned herself back and saw Yahushua standing, and knew not that it was Yahushua. Yahushua said unto her, Woman, why weep you? Whom seek you? She, supposing him to be the gardener, saith unto him, Sir, if you have borne him thence, tell him where you have laid him, and I will take him away. For those of you who don't know, the reason why she thought him to be the gardener, because Yahushua was laid in a garden. That sepulcher was in a garden that no man had ever been laid in. They're taking you back to the Garden of Eden, because Adam was supposed to be the caretaker or the tiller or the gardener of that garden. That's why she supposed him to be the gardener. Continuing on. Yahushua said unto her, Mary. She turned herself and saith unto him, Rabboni, which is to say, Master. Yahushua said unto her, Touch me not, for I have not yet ascended to my Abba, but go to my brethren, and say unto them, I ascend unto my Abba, and your Abba, to my Elohim, and your Elohim. Mary Magdalene came and told the disciples that she had seen the Lord, and that he had spoken these things unto her. Understand that when she saw him, he had been resurrected from the dead, and it would have been the third day. This is one of the reasons why he told her, Do not touch me. What did you just see from that law? That if anybody touches a body on the seventh day, and he'll purify himself with the heifer on the third day. And then on the seventh day, he'll be clean. Let's pay attention to that and what occurs even further. Then at the same day at even, being the first day of the week, when the doors were shut, where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Yahudim, came Yahushua and stood in the midst of them and said unto them, Shalom be unto you. And when he had so said, he showed unto them his hands and his side. Then were the disciples glad when they saw the Lord. Then said Yahushua to them again, Shalom be unto you. As my Abba hath sent to me, even so I send you. And when he had thus, he breathed on them and said unto them, Receive you the Ruach HaKadosh. See, they are able to now be able to touch him because he has breathed on them and given them the water of separation, or what they need to purify themselves. See, we cannot be purified from sin without the water of separation or the Ruach HaKadosh, because that is what removes the impurity. Let's read this Hebrew 9 before it slipped my mind. We want to pick this up in Hebrew 9. We'll pick it up at verse 8. The Ruach HaKadosh, this signifying the way into the Kadosh of all, was not yet made manifest while the first tabernacle was standing, which was a figure for the time then present, in which were offered both gifts and sacrifices, that could not make him that did the service perfect as pertaining to the conscience, which stood only in meats, drinks, and diverse washings and carnal ordinances opposed on them until the time of Reformation. We're looking at a carnal washing. See, these are the things that we have to sit back and realize you don't have to do that anymore. Because at the end of the day, you washing yourself to be unclean, to make yourself clean, does nothing according for your conscience. But it was to point to something else. The same way it tells you that immersion was pointing to something else. The same way it say that now you are washed from the word that I have spoken unto you, that you have been washed with the washing of the word, that you might be without spot, wrinkle, or blemish, or the washing of the Ruach. Not that you don't necessarily need to get immersed, because you need to get immersed, because that's a different conversation. But that word has washed you. So all that diverse washing and this, that, and the third, the different washings for different things to purify yourself, it is no longer needed. That was the purpose of showing you the ashes of the red heifer, because they were symbolizing the purification, or the water of separation, or the Ruach HaKadosh, because that is your separation. Remember, it says that Paul wrote that Yahushua was declared to be the son of Elohim by the Ruach HaKodesh and the resurrection of the dead. This water of separation is what is going to purify you. Because if you can do all those different washings, you can wear your fringes, you can follow all those cardinal ordinances, and if you don't have the Ruach HaKodesh, you will not get in that man's kingdom. Because everything that we're talking about is carnal, meaning it passes away. Because he's already told you there's not going to be need for any water in the kingdom. He's already told you that. No seas, no rivers, no any of that. No need for the sun, no need for the moon. No need for cloth. All of these things pass away. We have to look at it on a different level. See, some people, so you telling people not to wear fringes, you can do whatever you want to do. But I'm just telling you, it ain't going to save you. I tell you that right now. Tell you that right now, it ain't going to save you. It's definitely not going to do that. You can do you can follow every last cleaning ritual in that law, and it's not going to save you. You can follow every ordinance you want to follow as it pertains to things that pertain to sacrifices and things of that sort. And I promise to you, it ain't going to save you because the time of reformation is here. Let's look at that Greek word for reformation on general principle. We good in Numbers 19, by the way. When we look at reformation, it is the Greek word diorthos, and it is in a physical sense making straight or restoring to its natural and normal condition something which in some way protrudes or has gotten out of line, broken or misshapen limbs. What you mean? Can the water remain unclean? No, the water won't be unclean. The individual just would be unclean. So you have many people, and we can attest to this, and it's something that we mentioned that when we were on there this afternoon. When you get immersed, it doesn't purge away, it doesn't wash away the filthiness of the flesh. It just gives you a good mind towards Elohim, because you're saying that I'm going to put to death the flesh and put away sin and live under Elohim from this day forward. Because I've talked to a lot of people over the years and they think, well, once you get baptized and this, that, there, and the flesh should go away. As Derek just put it, the heart has to be changed. It has to be a transplant. It has to be a born again. There has to be a conversion. It has to be the shuv. You understand? The Hebrew word for turn. It has to be a change. See, baptism is not going to change you. See, we know that from when your forefathers went through the Red Sea. It's supposed to have been that foreshadowing of the life that you led in the house of bondage when you were in captive to the Egyptians, versus for you living to Elohim coming through the other side of the flood. But only two people had actually had that heart conversion by seeing the works and hearing the word and believing and changing. See, anybody can go get baptized, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be purged. Because it's the word that's going to purge your heart out. The baptism is symbolizing that you have heard the word and have decided that I am going to do that. That I am going to put away these things. It's a symbolic of no different than saying, hey, I put the blood of the lamb on my doorpost and I'm following Moses up out of Egypt. I'm following this man up out of sin. Most people don't do it. Most people go do it as a ritual. This is, we got to go get baptized. I've told y'all before, I'll baptize anybody. I'm going to ask you one question. Do you believe that Yahushua is the son of Elohim according to the scripture? I can't tell you if you're lying or not. You can say, yeah, I do. I can't say, no, you lying, I ain't going to do it. I'm going to make sure you understand that what you're agreeing to. Because getting baptized for all intents and purposes, you're deciding you're agreeing to enter into a marriage. Most people get married and they enter into it lightly. You don't really understand what you're signing up for. You don't understand, like this here, right? Like we mentioned that Wednesday, do like they said, getting married for love. You get married for duty and responsibility. You want to believe love because you've been sold that, because you watch too much TV and you watch too many movies. Do you know what I'm saying? But when you look at the course of human history, that was not the reasoning. See, that's what our problem is that we view the world through entertainment. So you don't want to go read. So you don't like. Let's like this here, right? They made a whole story up about the Titanic because they had nothing going. Everybody was dead. So they had to craft a story to pull on your emotions to make you believe in this great love story. This dude who loved this woman so much, and this, that, there, and the third, to cause you to watch it. Because what is the best way to get people engaged? By engaging their emotions. That's how they get you. So now you begin to look at life through the viewpoint of the engagement of your emotions through the media that you consume. That's why they do it with sports. That's why they do it with music. They do it with everything. So then you begin to view life through the lens of entertainment. But when you take off that entertainment glasses and set that to the side and put your bifocals on and actually open up a history book and actually study ancient cultures and civilizations, you will see that the things that you hold in high regard, no human culture has ever held it. The things that you think people live by absolutely did not happen. The people didn't live like that. They didn't think like that. Now, the wickedness was always there, but we're talking about in certain situations and circumstances. And when you study marriage throughout the course of human history, nobody got married because they thought this person was so attractive. Oh, she's so fine. Oh, his sex or her sex is so good. I'm so in love and feeling bubbly. That's new age stuff. That's stuff to get your money and to make you foolish and to really turn you into a whore. That's male or female. That's what it's made for. It's to cause you to lose sight of what keeps a family together and why you get married in the first place. Therefore, when you have such a disjointed society, you will bring up disjointed children. And when you do that, then you can destroy the society and therefore by manipulate and control it and push the society in whatever direction you want to push it in. That's why it's imperative on men to never be in their feelings and to never be in their emotions and to never operate in such foolishness. You know what I'm saying? They push on young men, you need to be romantic. For what? For what? What does that benefit the family? That's benefiting an individual. And they use those things to manipulate you. I just seen a brother, I ain't watched the video. He was talking about the love manipulation, talking about the love languages. That's not something that men usually use to get what they want. It's something that women use to get what they want and use that to manipulate lesser men. Because when you're a greater man, that stuff doesn't matter because that woman is going to get the type of love that she's going to have to accept anyway, because it's not a love that's catering to her. Yahuwah never catered to anyone. When we're talking about catering to anyone, catering to your whims and desires. Because he said he'll give you what you ask for if it's according to his will. But see, this comes into something else. You cannot love and honor and serve someone who you feel is equal to you. That's what a lot of young men don't realize. I told y'all that before. Your woman needs to admire you. She needs to respect you. If she admires you and respects you, then in her mind, she sees you as greater than her. And if she sees you as greater than her, then she can serve you. If she sees you as mentally equal to her, she is not going to serve you. And she is not going to respect you because she does not see you as being superior. See, and the thing is, right, Yahushua told you that the greatest among you, let him be your servant. Yahushua said, am I one who sit at meat or one that serve? He said, I'm one that serve. He said, then, hey, you go do the same thing. And when you're finished doing what you're doing, say we are unprofitable servants. We were just doing what it was our duty to do. Understanding that I know that I am superior, so therefore I don't have to flex my superiority in order to show you the will and righteousness of Elohim. But nevertheless, you serve and honor Yahushua because you know he's greater than you. Even though he said greater works than these that you'll do, you know deep down in your soul, that man greater than you. He's superior to you. You're not equal to him. See, people look at him. He's my homeboy. He this, that, there, and the third. No, that man is not equal to you, my G. You're not equal to this man. He was trying to understand you to be equal as far as humility is concerned. But in status and in rank, that man is greater than you. And you know it, because if he was your equal, you wouldn't serve him, because you would not look at him as anyone to serve. People do not want to serve their equals. That's why you see so many brews who talk about, well, why y'all doing these Hebrew mores, elders, and pastors like you did them Christian pastors? Because they view these men as being superior to them. Those men just don't stamp out them people doing that like the Lord would have done it. And say, nah, man, you can't do that. That's the difference. But that's why people do it. They see those people superior. You can't look at this person and say he's my peer. Because if you see him as your peer, you're not going to respect him. This means you're not going to listen to him. But see, we don't want to have that conversation because you'd have to check human history and see that's how things go. But we all know it. Ask your old lady. She'll tell you. Ask any woman, period. They'll tell you. They want a man to be superior to them. They don't want to equal. They say that partner stuff 50-50, they lying. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. They want a man superior. Because she knows if he's superior, that means she knows any query, any question, any problem, that man can solve it. I can admire him. I can respect him. Why you think your kids look at you the way they look at you? Because they see you as being superior to them. Not just superior in authority, but just they think you know everything. That you can solve everything. That's why they look at you like that. So you better make sure that you can, because if you get older and your kids find out you stupid, they're not going to look at you like that. You don't want your kids to grow up and find out my daddy's an idiot and my mother's a fool. That's the last thing you want to find out, because then they're not going to respect you. Then you're going to be frustrated why they don't listen to you and why they don't do this and why they don't do that. And that's going to be a you problem because you didn't improve yourself. But nevertheless, let's finish this Hebrews 9. Where I'm at. I'm in verse 10. I'll read it again. Which stood only in meats and drinks and diverse washings, carnal ordinances imposed on them until the time of Reformation. But Mashiach becoming a high priest of good things to come by a greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands, that is to say, not of this building. Neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood he entered once into the Kadash place, having obtained eternal redemption for us. For if the blood of bulls and of goats and ashes of heifers, I feel like I'm skipping a word, sprinkling the unclean sanctified to the purifying of the flesh, how much more shall the blood of Mashiach, who through the eternal Ruach offered himself without spot, the Tamaim, back to that what we were talking about at the beginning, number 19, to Elohim, purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living Elohim. He said, how much more is that greater? See, we get stuck on this here and we ain't looking at what's greater. See, the greatness of the new covenant, a.k.a. the body of Mashiach, is greater than the tables of stone in the old covenant that Moses brought. Same covenant, one better than the other. That's why you're supposed to admire one higher than you admire the other. But see, we don't have that level of thinking to look at it in that fashion. But come on back over here to Psalm 69. All that we were looking at in regard to that hyssop, why they put that on there. Why did they put that hyssop on there? Taking you back to the part of dealing with the sprinkling of the heifer, dealing with what you needed to do if you were unclean for touching a dead body. We're in verse 22, which is what I wanted y'all to remember Passover for. He said, let their table become a snare before them. Now that which should have been, it's not there. Neither is that there before welfare. It'll say, let their table become a snare before them for welfare. And then that let it become is not even there, a trap. But we had to say it in its completion. Let the table become a snare before them. And that which should have been for their welfare, let it become a trap. Let the table. Of course, you know what table is. It's the king's table, shulchan, private use, sacred use, regular table. Place where you sit down and eat. He said, let that table become a snare. Now, I really want to came here for welfare, because welfare is shalom. So he said, let that be for that was going to be for their peace. Let it become a trap. Mokash, bait, lure, snare. So now, understanding that, let that table become a snare for them. And let that which have been for their peace, let it be a trap. What do y'all believe is actually being said? Now, for snare, that word here is pak, and it is calamities, a source of agent of calamity, a bird trap or snare. What do you believe this verse 22 is referring to? Ah, yes, the nutmeg. The nutmeg. I don't think that's nutmeg at this point. Let me see what that is. I don't think that's nutmeg. It's a little earthy right now. It's a little earthy. A little earthy. I think that might be the vanilla shining through. Yeah, a little dirty patchouli and vanilla shining through. Maybe a little bit of rose. I'm gonna tell y'all something too, man. Don't be scared to get you a fragrance that got some rose in it. Because I got a few. I got about 4 or 5 got rose in it. Don't be scared to grab you something with a good rose note in it. Don't be scared thinking you're going to smell like no woman. You get the right fragrance blended properly with that rose, it is heavenly. That much I can tell you. This one here is a little different. What y'all think of this verse? I'm waiting on you. I'm just telling y'all that to kill time because I just don't want to sit here looking crazy. But I'm waiting on y'all on that. Ah, yeah. Dwight and Muffin got a hint of this one yesterday, or the other day. This right here, this exclusive, you got to be ready for it because it's a different type of deal. It's got a little animalic. You can smell. You might think it smells like a little bit like poop, but it's lovely. It's absolutely lovely. That verse 22. Ah, yeah. Yep, that verse 22. Let their table become a snare before them, lest that which should have been for their peace, let it become a trap. What y'all think that can mean? What y'all think that can refer to? Somebody help me out. I just don't want to jump into it. I want to give y'all a second. You know what I'm saying? Proffer your thoughts. Give me your viewpoint. You know what I mean? Ain't nothing wrong with a little viewpoint. Stumbling block. Anybody else? Y'all don't pay me no mind. Y'all know I like good fragrances. I tell you this here, man. You should always smell good. You ain't got no excuse. But if you're a man over 30 and you don't got at least 2 to 3 fragrances in your house, something wrong with you. Truth be told, you should have got your first one as a teen. That means somebody in your family ain't love you right. They ain't let you know you need to get your scent game up. Smell good. Don't do it for the women. It does. It does. It does. It does to a certain extent. Yes, it does, Dad. Yes, it does. You know what I'm saying? You ought to smell good just for the shoot on general principle. You know what I'm talking about? There's an aspect of being a man. Look good, smell fresh. You know what I'm talking about? Don't never do nothing just to get no women, man. Because at that point, you'll be living the rest of your life to the serving and appeasing of the opposite gender, and they're not going to respect you for it. Now, ain't nothing wrong if your lady say, I like this scent right here on you. You know she like it. You know what I'm saying? You pull that out every now and again because you know she care for it. Ain't nothing wrong with a little bit of that. You know what I'm saying? I done had some women try to tell me, no, I think you'll look good in this, but I don't even dress like that, though. So I'm not doing that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing that. Because I'm not doing that because I find that appealing. I'm making myself be something that I'm not for your appeasement. And I'm not doing that. I was taught better than that. My self-respect is too high. I'm not doing anything to appease anyone if it's something that I don't or don't want to do. More importantly, it's something that I don't do. You'll never do something that you don't do to make someone else happy. See, that's what people have told you that you should do. Call it compromising. Men should never do that under any circumstance. That's not your job and duty to be doing stuff that you don't desire to do to make somebody else happy. Once you do that, they begin to lose respect for you because they don't see you as a man who is unwavering in the things that he stands for. Because, oh, he'll do this here to make me happy and please me. What else can he? What else will he do? And that's in different areas. That ain't just with women, did people, period. You got to stand on what you stand on, man. People be looking for you to see if you're going to go back on the things that you don't do. I ain't talking about if you don't feel like doing something, then you decide, you know what, it ain't a big deal. We can go do it. I'm talking about you don't do that. Something that you have never done in your life is something you don't do. It's something you don't desire to do. And then you go do it. I don't have a desire to jump out of an airplane. I'm not jumping out of an airplane for anyone. I don't care who asks. I don't care what they have to say. I don't jump out of airplanes, nigga. I'm not jumping out no airplane. I'm not bungee jumping. I'm not getting on a roller coaster. I don't care who gets on the roller coaster. I don't care who asks. I'm not doing it. You know what I'm saying? It's not happening. I'm not going to go against something that I don't do to make you happy. The reason why I said all of that is because I'm trying to give y'all time. Ain't nobody going to add nothing, so I'm going to go ahead and drop it in a moment. But I'm mentioning that because of what Paul said. If I be the servant of men, then I be not the servant of Mashiach. If I seek to please men, then I don't please Elohim. There's only one person in life that you should seek to please if you're not married. And that is Elohim. If a woman is married, she should seek to please her husband. If she unmarried and she dwell with her father, she should seek to please her father. You know what I'm saying? A man should seek to please his wife according to the duties and responsibilities that Yahuwah has laid out for a man to do for his wife. Not according to what she wants, but according to the duties and responsibilities that he has laid out of what he is required to do. Because the man has told you a woman's heart is like snares and nets and her hands are like bands. She'll get you caught up in a whole bunch of stuff. Come on around here to Isaiah chapter 8. Don't let yourself get caught up in doing stuff you know you shouldn't do or don't want to do. Because you'll regret it later. Because she's going to treat you like yesterday's trash. These women ain't going to tell you that in public. They'll tell you that in private, though. Don't compromise yourself. Just don't do it. Isaiah 8 and 12. Some of these older men will tell you that. Because some of them will tell you, some of them will tell you that I done made that mistake. I ain't done that, but I done seen it happen. Just because I'm just that stubborn, I ain't doing it. I'm good. I don't care. Your vagina ain't that good. I don't need your company that bad. I ain't never met a piece of vagina good enough to make me do something I don't want to do. Y'all blessed, brother. Y'all blessed. I ain't seen one. I ain't met one. Not to do something I don't want to do. Here's the difference. Again, because I'm telling you that in regard to word-wise. See, that's what Solomon got caught. But he was old. When you get old, you get weak, you get got like that because you don't be as strong. You get a little lax. You know what I'm saying? Your vigor ain't the same. You know what I'm saying? You don't put your setup and fight as strong. You understand? But I'm just telling you this here. Anything in life, period. You can have something that you desire to do. You would do it. You may not feel like doing it at that moment. Somebody asks. And you say, you know what? They would delight in doing this. I don't feel like doing it right now. But I'm not adverse to this. So let's do it. But if it is something that you don't do, or you don't want to do, no. And it should be no every time they ask. And you should never see, a lot of y'all get frustrated because you feel like, I don't want to keep saying it, or this, that, and the third. I ain't got no problem with it. How many times you want me to tell you no? I can clean it up, spice it up, dress it up, make it however you like. No, I'm not doing it. You know what I'm saying? They may be upset with you, but they respect you for it. And as a man, you would rather be respected than to be liked. Because see, you can be liked and be disrespected. You know what I'm talking about? You'd rather be respected. They may not like you, but they'll respect you. Respect lasts longer. I ain't talking about no fear. I'm talking about respect. And I'm telling you that not just in the aspect of dealing with your woman. You need to sit back and have that word the same way. Friends, family, your woman, kids, all that. Boy, they're going to respect you for it. You may not fold, but they're going to respect you for it. They may not like you, but they're going to respect you for it because you stood to, I don't do that. And I'm not doing that. I don't care what type of slander you say. I don't care what type of stories you tell. I don't care what type of insults you hurl. I don't care what you got to say. I'm not doing that. No shame, no guilt, no none of that. I ain't doing it. You know what I'm saying? You have to have the ability to not be moved. As men, we should not be easily swayed by the words, feelings, and emotions of others to get us to do things that we don't want to do. Because at the end of the day, if they don't agree with what you don't want to do, they can get out the car. Door, let me out. Open the door, let the nigga out. It's not that big of a deal. You may not want him to get out, but you're going to shut the car and you're going to do what them niggas did in that movie, man. And you're going to go ahead and perform what you went to perform. Because guess what? It's still gas in the engine. The transmission still working well, and my foot on the gas, and we're going to keep heading to the destination. You the one chose to get out the car. I ain't going to stop the car because you want to get out. I'm not going to change the vision and detour off the path because you don't want to go. That doesn't make sense. They don't want to go, leave them behind because they made that choice. That's what you have to understand. If people are making a choice to stay behind, then why the hell do you care? You ain't see Lot say, oh, my wife looking back. I better look back with her. That's a dead hoe today. Because you see, he ain't look back. You see, he ain't shed no tear about it. They knew they weren't supposed to look back. She a dead hoe today. And he went on with his life, too. Ain't said nothing about her. Ain't shed no tear about her. That's her stupid behind. She wanted to stay back. I didn't. That's why Yahushua came back around and told you, better remember Lot's wife. You better remember it. What you're looking back for. What you worried about it for. You want to get out the car? Well, guess what? Be a pillar of salt then. Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 12. Make it 11. Shoot, you could make it 10. Take counsel together, and it shall come to naught. Speak the word, and it shall not stand, for Elohim is with us. For Yahuwah spake thus to me with a strong hand, and instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people, saying, say you not a confederacy to all them whom this people shall say a confederacy, neither fear you their fear, nor be afraid. Sanctify Yahuwah of hosts himself, and let him be your fear, and let him be your dread. And he shall be for a sanctuary, for a stone of stumbling, a rock of offense to both houses of Yasharal, for a gin and a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Many among them shall stumble and fall and be broken, be snared, and be taken. So again, we're looking at that table. Let it become a snare. Psalm 23 on the house. That is lovely, man. Good grief. Little Muffin can tell you. Because I spilled some of it on her floor, and she said it stayed in there forever. (23:1) Psalms on the house. General principle. Let's roll with it. Yahuwah is my shepherd, I shall not want. He make me to lie down in green pastures. He lead me beside the still waters. He restore my soul. He lead me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, and your rod and your staff comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Now that table has appeared again. And he said, you have prepared a table for me in the presence of my enemies. Let's take a look. John 13. Remember, right? He said, let their table become a snare before them, and that which should have been for their peace, let it be a trap. John chapter 13, verse 1. Now, before the feast of the Passover, when Yahushua knew that his hour was come, that he should depart out of this world unto Abba, having loved his own which were in the world, he loved them unto the end. Supper being ended, the devil having now put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him. Yahushua, knowing that Abba had given all things into his hand, and that he was come from Elohim and went to Elohim, he rise from supper and lay aside his garments and took a towel and girded himself. So now we've established that Yahushua has a table prepared for him in the presence of his enemies. Let's continue. Do we want to drop down a little bit further here, please? Let's drop down to about verse 21 of this very same chapter. When Yahushua had thus said, he was troubled in Ruach and testified and said, truly, truly, I say unto you, one of you shall betray me. Then the disciples looked one on another, doubting of whom he spake. Now there was leaning on Yahushua's bosom one of his disciples whom Yahushua loved. Simon Peter therefore beckoned to him that he should ask to whom it should be of whom he spake. He then, lying on Yahushua's breast, said unto him, Lord, who is it? Yahushua answered, it is he to whom I shall give a sop when I have dipped it. And when he dipped the sop, he gave it to Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon. After the sop, Hashatan entered into him. Then said Yahushua unto him, that you do quickly. No man at the table knew for what intent he spake unto him. So you see the table is prepared for him in the presence of his enemies. But we need to see how let the table become a snare. Matthew 26. Because remember when I told you to remember Passover? That is why. That is why. Because this verse is referring to Passover. That very table had become a snare. That very feast had become a snare to trap these people. We had already read it when they said, let his blood be on their children's children. When Pilate said, what evil have he done? I'm going to let him go. But they asked for Barabbas. So that table had become a trap before them. And of course, Yahushua was manifested for your peace because he has the authority to destroy chaos or to destroy sin. And that which would have been for their welfare, aka for their peace, ended up becoming a trap. As you just seen that he shall be for a snare and a trap to both houses of Yasharal, that they shall be taken, snared, and broken. Matthew 26:1. And it came to pass when Yahushua had finished all these sayings, he said unto his disciples, you know that after 2 days is the feast of the Passover, and the Son of Man is betrayed, to be crucified. Then assembled together the chief priests, scribes, and elders of the people unto the palace of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas, and consulted that they may take Yahushua by subtlety and kill him. But they said not on the feast day, lest there be an uproar among the people. So when you see that, Passover ended up, which was for their peace, because you should know that going back to the law period of what the initial Passover was for, ended up becoming a trap for these people. That what was for their peace ended up becoming a trap. That's what a lot of people don't realize, that Yahushua was manifested for your peace, but for many people, he's going to be a trap and a snare because they're going to hear it and they're going to reject it. Verse 23 of Psalm 69. Let their eyes be darkened that they see not, make their loins continually to shake. He closed their eyes, closed the eyes of your rulers, that they knew not what they were doing. Remember, he said, open my eyes and I might behold wondrous things out of your law. Those same people who that table became a snare and that which was for their peace became a trap, he shut their eyes that they cannot see. Let's take a look at 2 Corinthians chapter 4 in that regard. That's why he say you see and your sin remain, because your eyes are dark and you say you see, but you blind, boy. That's why he said if they be blind leaders of the blind, leave them alone and let them fall in the ditch. See, we don't want to do that. You feel like you can give him sight. If Yahuwah made him blind, who can make him see? If Yahuwah made him lame, who can stand him up? If Yahuwah made him crooked, who can make him straight? You can't do it if that's what he had determined. Some of y'all will be them same people that once he determined to kill Asa, that you'll try to figure out a way to save it. Because the prophet walked off, he said, boy, I have perceived that Yahuwah had determined to destroy him. He ain't turn around and say, I got to keep him alive. Come on, Asa, you got to hear what I got to say. He said, that's a dead nigga tonight. And walked off with about his business because he know he wasn't going to change Yahuwah's mind. And he done made up his mind to kill him. Who going to change it? Remember when we talked about this already when he was talking to Samuel? He said, what you wanted for him for, seeing I rejected him? You better get up and go and do what I told you to do. I don't know what you worry about him for. That boy's finished. 2 Corinthians 4:1. See, I know it sounds harsh because we're not accustomed to that. We feel like everybody got an opportunity. Everybody can be saved. Well, I'm going to tell you something, man. That's a lie. Everybody don't have an opportunity. Every time you open your eyes, ain't an opportunity to get it right. Y'all know that from the text. There was nothing that Ahab could do that was going to change his outcome. Yahuwah had to determine and swore in heaven what he was going to do to him. He had already said it wasn't nothing he could do. He was going to kill everybody that pissed against the wall. He just extended the days and said, I won't let you see your sons get killed. He had determined what he was going to do to him. It wasn't nothing going to change that. All that stuff Saul did, he woke up for 40 plus years. Yahuwah wasn't fooling with that man. It wasn't nothing Saul could do to get back right with this man. The man rejected him. See, we can't turn around and say people reprobate and then say you got a chance to get it right. Oh, no. What y'all take this man for? Y'all take this man for a sucker? Well, too many people in this book, that man say, boy, I'm done with that boy. And that's a wrap. Ain't nothing you can do. Ain't nothing you can say. So we need to stop telling people that. Instead of telling people, you can always get it right, stop getting it wrong. So you won't have no opportunity to be worried. But guess what? The people in the wilderness, it wasn't nothing he could do once he swore in his wrath. They wasn't entering in his rest. They didn't have an opportunity to get it right. They were done. That man swore on his name. That's over with for them. There's nothing that they could have done. There was nothing that they could have said. It was over. They were finished. It's a wrap. So we don't want to hear that. See, we don't want to hear that. That don't make us feel good on the inside. Because you think no matter what you do and no matter what you say, that there's an open door of mercy there. That man say he got a door that he can shut that no man can open, and he got a door that he can open that no man can shut. So if the door is open, walk through the door and stop teeter-tottering and trying to, I want to go outside, I want to stay in the house. I want to go outside, I want to stay in the house. Man, get in the house and stay in the house. And you won't have those concerns. See, when we're doing that, we're pity-patting with people. You doing the same stuff you claim them Christians doing, you just doing it in a different way. But yet you have the unmitigated gall, the flat out unmitigated gall to talk about those people. And you do the same thing that they do because you don't want to be man enough to say, well, shoot, bro, that might be a wrap for you. But the key component, you know when it's a wrap for somebody because they won't retain this man in their knowledge. They faithful. That's where you could tell. You could look at Saul's behavior. Come on, man. The man, we already talked about this last week. Wickedness proceeds from the wicked. That man wasn't showing the word of Elohim was in his heart. Everything he did was contrary to that. There was nothing that Saul did in his story that showed you that he was faithful to Yahuwah before Yahuwah rejected him or after. So why are we going to tell that lie to make a bunch of sinners feel good about themselves? You shouldn't feel good about being no sinner. Ain't nothing good about it. That's a disgrace and a shame. So why would you feel good about being dishonorable? But see, that's another thing that's not promoted amongst our people, unless you're in the street, which is to be honorable. You know what I'm saying? You should be an honorable person. Your words should be honorable. Your appearance should be honorable. Your conduct should be honorable. The way you interact with people should be honorable. Your business should be honorable. Everything that you do should be in an honorable fashion so that when somebody sees you, they can say that is an honorable man. That is a woman of honor. And you know what honor means? That's respect. Everything that we should do should be respectable. And it should be representative of whom we claim to serve. Because our Elohim is a respectable Elohim worthy of honor, respect, and reverence. He's worthy of that. Why is he worthy of that? Because of everything that he extends unto all. All have an opportunity at repentance and forgiveness and remission of sins. All have an opportunity to access to the Ruach HaKodesh. All have the opportunity to breathe breath in as he see fit. He feeds all men. I seen somebody else, what type of God, why he don't intervene? This man never told you he would intervene. I hate when I see people talk like that. That man never told you that he would intervene in human affairs. Has he intervened from time to time? Yes, he has. But this man never told you, oh, I'm going to stop that from happening, stop that from happening. That's because that's what you want him to do, or you feel like that's what he should do. He never said he would do that. He never said that he would do that. He never said that at any time. There's not too many instances that he's intervened in anything. He didn't intervene from Cain killing Abel. He could have intervened. He could have intervened from Esau selling his birthright. But at the end of the day, we just don't want to accept they're evil people, and sometimes evil things happen to people. That's not Yahuwah's fault because he didn't do it. But you got in your mind like he's some type of magic show, and he's going to pop up and extend his hand and stop somebody. The man never said that. And you shouldn't have that expectation because he never told you that he would do that. So there's no need to have that expectation. Can he send Malachim to stop things? Yes, he can. But who does he do that for? The ones that love him. See, we feel like he should intervene for everybody. And this man don't fool with everybody. He don't fool with everybody. So he ain't intervening for everybody. And it is what it is. 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 1. Therefore, seeing we have this ministry, we have received mercy, we faint not. We have renounced the hidden things of dishonesty, not walking in craftiness, nor handling the word of Elohim deceitfully, but by manifestation of truth, commending ourselves to every man's conscience in the sight of Elohim. If our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost, and whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the esteemed Basar of Mashiach, who is the image of Elohim, should shine unto them. You can't do nothing if Satan done blinded their eyes. All you can do is that they pray that they come from the clutches of the adversary and from opposing themselves. That's all you can do. Let's return. Psalm 69 and 24. Pour out your indignation upon them. Let your wrathful anger take hold of them. Let their habitation be desolate. Let none dwell in their tents. Listen what it says, for they persecute him whom you have smitten. Remember what he told Pilate? You wouldn't have no power at all against me unless it was given to you from above. They persecuted the one that Yahuwah had smitten. So that's the thing that you don't sit back and look at. Some of you will be persecuted, but it would be Yahuwah the one who had smite you, who had set you up to be scourged, to set you up to be chastised, to be killed, to be wounded, and to be beaten. The same way you seen the apostles were beaten, and they got up rejoicing that they were worthy to suffer for his name. Those people going to have to pay for doing that to you. Listen what he said. And they talked to the grief of those whom you have wounded. And you know how they talked about the man while he was on the stake. Grief is macabre. They talked to his pain and sorrow. If you be the son of Elohim, come down from the stake. But at the end of the day, it was Yahuwah that did that to Yahusha. It was his father, I should say, did that to Yahusha. They didn't do it. And they were running their mouth as if they were the ones who were doing it. All they were doing was facilitating what he had done and bringing wrath on their own head, unbeknownst to them, because that table had become a trap, and that which was for their peace had become a snare. And that very matter is going to be the reason why they do not enter into the kingdom. Don't let that be your reason. Verse 27, add iniquity unto their iniquity, and let not them come into your righteousness. That's why Peter said, I hope y'all did this by ignorance and you ain't know what you were doing. He said, I sure hope you ain't know what you were doing. Because that man said, them people said, let his blood be on our children's children. That means you asking for sin to go from generation to generation. Let them be blotted out of the book of the living. Let them not be written with the righteous. He said, don't even let their name be written in heaven. You understand how serious that is? That means your name should not be in the Lamb's book of life, because you persecuted the one who he had smitten and taught to grief the one whom you had wounded. Do you understand the level of destruction that is going to come upon those who persecute the righteous? And all that stuff we have been talking about Saul and David, that's what he was doing. He was persecuting the one who Yahuwah had smitten and Yahuwah had wounded. And you think good gonna come to you for doing that? He said, but I am poor and sorrowful. Let your salvation, O Elohim, set me upon high. And at the name of Yahushua shall every knee bow and every tongue shall confess that he has given him a name above all names, because he humbled himself even unto death, even the death of the stake. I will praise the name of Elohim with a song and will magnify him with thanksgiving. This also shall please Yahuwah, better than an ox or a bull ox that have horns and hooves. The humble shall see this and be glad, and your heart shall live that seek Yahuwah. And what is that telling you? When Yahushua rose from the dead and they saw him and he praised the name of Elohim, and they magnified him with thanksgiving in a song. Because that man don't care nothing about your bulls and goats. That man don't need them. Yahuwah hear the poor and despise not his prisoners. Now, of course, y'all know what poor. We'll see what word they got, which one they use for poor here. Because he does hear the prayers of the poor. And of course, that is Ebion, and that is those who need help or deliverance from trouble. Also the lowest class and want needy, but those who need deliverance. Remember, he said that Yahushua was heard and that he feared. That man hears those who call out and need salvation. If you cry out to this man from the earnest of your heart, and you have humbled yourself in heart, he will hear your cry. And he don't despise none of his prisoners. We don't talk about that in the past. You know, his prisoners, that's a sir, that's somebody, that's his bondman. Remember, right? We Mashiach's bondmen. Remember that what Paul told them people? We bondmen to Mashiach. We a slave to Mashiach. See, a lot of people don't want to see that you bonded to him. Because a lot of people don't want to be slaves. See, a lot of people want to be slaves to their own desires. But then we have to ask ourselves, what benefit have we gotten by being slaves to our own desires? What has that gotten us? Where has that gotten us? What profit have you gained? Remember, he said, prisoners of hope, he will render unto you double. Do you understand? So you got to be captive and bondman to the hope that Elohim has promised. Let's continue this. Let heaven and earth praise him, the seas and everything that move therein. Elohim will save Zion and will build the cities of Yehuda, that they may dwell there and have it in possession. The seed also of his servant shall inherit it. They that love his name shall dwell therein. All those who are born of the word, who that table was not a snare, and that he was there for their peace, they will dwell in that land. They will dwell in that city, and they shall rejoice and honor him there. But hallelujah for Yahushua in the word. I appreciate y'all time this evening. I bless y'all at the house of Elohim in the name of Yahushua. Always just sit back, weigh, and consider. Yahuwah is faithful, just, and righteous altogether. But the key component of what you've seen from some of those verses is, if people persecute those who are righteous, Yahuwah is going to kill them. And he is not going to allow them to enter into his rest, that there is no profit for understanding of going against that which he made for your benefit and you rejecting it, and seeing how this individual who was written in this psalm was willing to suffer all of this reproach for Elohim's sake. Because remember, he said, I suffer reproach for your name's sake. All of that dishonor he took, because remember what it said. He said, you persecute him whom you've smitten. They talk to grief the one whom you've wounded. If you came on to take on the sufferings of Mashiach and to be conformed to his image, then it is Yahuwah who is smiting you. It is Yahuwah who is wounding you, which goes back to what we were talking about Wednesday on. He going to try your reins to see what's in your heart. That's him who's doing that. It's not the people who doing it. He that despiseth not man, but Elohim, because he's given unto us his Ruach HaKadosh. Therefore, if you endure, he will set you up on high, just like you've seen in Psalm 69. He did it for Yahushua. Why wouldn't he do it for you? Because that is what Yahushua has told us. That is what Yahuwah had promised us before he manifested himself in the flesh. And then he gave you the same promise all over again. So understanding and knowing that, you just have to have the will to endure. Because Yahuwah is faithful, he will render unto the righteous that of which he has promised them. That's a given. You don't have to doubt that. But I bless y'all at the house of Elohim in the name of Yahushua. I appreciate y'all time this evening. Yahuwah willing, we'll pick it up on tomorrow in a new psalm and go from there. So, yeah, until that time.